As much as I would encourage and respect people for finding community and doing things that they want to do despite things that get in their way, such as their weight, there is a certain point where you're just soliciting abuse, you know?
So to walk back on a lot of what you said.
Well, I'm not saying that abuse is good or that you deserved the abuse. There's a very big difference between deserving the abuse and doing things that put you in a space where you will be abused. It's a subtle but important difference, because and I'm not saying like it's good that you're abused either. That's kind of part of the deserving thing. It's just there are assholes in the world. Like we know this, and we can't get around this.
We mentioned that last episode, talking about bullies a bit.
Yeah.
And actually, one bully, and I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, but one person that kind of had picked on me, and I was never singled out, and I said that. But this person bullied a bunch of people. A police record, actually in prison right now. So it's unfortunately that pattern continued. So it's, I mean, as annoying as that may have been at the time, it's like, in the grand scheme of things, there's so many other worse things going on in his life, and I feel bad for him, really, to end up being in that position. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Wants to be there.
No, but some people can't seem to help it. Well, it's actually the same thing, like, oh, this is going to sound terrible, but it's the same thing like being overweight. If that person could help it, obviously they don't want to be very overweight, or they wouldn't be. If it was so simple, they wouldn't be. Just like people who are gay. If they really didn't want to be gay, and it was as simple as a choice, they would just not be gay. It's really it's so obvious that people seem to miss it a lot of the time. There's always this sense that it's, oh, well, they just don't want to, or they don't care, or they're lazy, or whatever. And I can see where they're coming from with these sorts of things. But it's just think about it for 5 seconds. Like, I'm sure there's something you hate about yourself that you wish you didn't have, and maybe it doesn't bother you that much because maybe it's minor. But there's something, I'm sure, that you're like, yeah, I wish this would be a little bit better. It's like, and if you could make it better, you would. But you can't. So, it's sort of giving other people the benefit of the doubt that, if they could help it, they wouldn't. So like this bully, I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I'm sure he had a rough home life, and there's probably even some genetic factors, some developmental things, like his brain is perhaps hardwired from his DNA to make him more aggressive. And
and head injuries can cause people to be more aggressive, and there's other external factors that can happen just in life that can cause that.
Yeah. So I think we can all benefit from separating this idea of deserving something and something being true. Reality just isn't fair. Reality doesn't look at things and say, you deserve this, so I'm going to give this to you. You just get stuff. You're just handed a basket of stuff, and then, you may or may not have the tools to deal with the harder things. And in the case of someone like a bully who ends up in prison, he didn't have the tools to take care of his own stuff. Or even like with the, very obese. They don't have the tools, whether that's...
A lot of time, I think a lot of it's knowledge, just of what to be eating. Because I know until I had a better idea of what. Because I had zero understanding of nutrition.
Right, but at the same time, there have been lots of efforts to educate people on nutrition. Of course,
there's also a lot of misleading and conflicting information.
And that's because the science of nutrition is very rudimentary. It's probably one of the most basic, juvenile disciplines, scientific disciplines out there. We know a lot more about physics and chemistry and all of these sorts of things, but the human body is very complicated. Very difficult to understand.
Our gut is a microbiome. It's not a gas.
But that's what we know. Like, there's still a lot we don't know,
Oh, yeah.
And particularly for the
systems.
people who are overweight, when I say they lack the tools, it's not necessarily willpower. It's not necessarily knowing what to eat. It might just be that their genes produce a protein in the wrong shape, or don't produce a protein, or there's some kind of something, a hormone imbalance. Who knows? There's all kinds of possible causes that cause these people to have excessive appetite, maybe cause them to hold on to fat more than normal people would. There's all kinds of possible causes, and when I say they lack the tools, it could be in any one of those. I'm not excluding anything. It's just life is much more complex than people give it credit for.
Oh yeah, and our understanding isn't as good as we give it credit for.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Like, sometimes just go back to the fundamentals, things that we don't fully understand. That's why I would caution again, unless you're allergic to certain things or this or that. I'm not one for limiting one's diet in a lot of ways, because we don't know. When it comes, is there things in meat that we're getting out of it that we really need to get? Is there stuff out of these veggies? And I've personally, from going through spells of really not eating as much and then eating certain things and just feeling the effects on my body based on what I put in, if it's some fast food or some kind of more garbagey food, or some, say, cooked up onions, a nice real meal, even meat. It's like there's different effects that I've noticed from each one. You kind of need a bit of all of it. Not every day, not, every other day, but just, you kind of feel it, your body out. And I've been trying to figure it out. I don't think I've fully cracked my own biology on that, but I've gotten better at noticing what I need.
Right.
And fulfill what I need.
Specifically, you're talking about not selective limitation, not saying no carbs, not saying no fat.
Not going on a diet, which is a theme that you hear a lot, is the dieting being a problem, and because people try to look at that quick fix, like I need to go on this thing for a while and then I'll be good. Well, no, you're not. You need a lifestyle change, and if that diet isn't conducive to a lifestyle change, it's not going to work.
Right.
And it usually doesn't work, so that's why people get
that,
frustrated and they start blaming the diet, but it's... You think of diet as, what do I eat? Like, what is within the range of things I eat? That's your diet.
Right.
That's what the word means.
What am I eating?
Don't think of fad, I only eat this and that, and blah, 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 this on Tuesdays. Don't think of it like that.
Well, yeah, and
that is a trap that people fall into.
Right, and even the lifestyle change thing has its limitations, because you're probably not going to maintain the same exact lifestyle from now until you die.
Yeah.
And any subtle change, the introduction of a child, a loss of a job, any of these factors can just totally change your lifestyle. And it could be budgetary constraints, it could just be stress, and then you kind of lose willpower, because people tend to do that when they're stressed. And that's not to say anything bad about anyone, because it happens to all of us. Just different people express that different ways. Eating is a fairly common one. But yeah, it's just, it's not one thing.
Sometimes people will end up making a bunch of excuses too. That's very possible. Let's take a look at an example.
Well, diets can become the excuse. It's like, well, the diet says
exactly.
I should do this.
And let me talk about the bane of my existence. In dieting, the idea of starvation mode.
Oh.
Get out of here with that. You're not about to starve. If you eat once within a week, you're not going to starve.
Well,
especially if you have a lot of... And I'm not suggesting to starve yourself, but you have a long way to go before you're anywhere close to what they're talking about.
Well, and starvation mode is what paleo and especially Atkins followers would understand to be ketosis. That's all that they mean when they say starvation mode. So you actually have people out there who say that that's a good thing and that's the best way to lose weight. So it's like that we understand so little about it. We just have a bunch of people guessing, and then cults that seem to have formed around these people.
It's when you look at it like that, and you end up eating because you say, oh, well, I don't want to hit starvation mode, I still want to lose weight, I'll just eat a little bit of something. Well, that little bit of something started your metabolism, and now you're going to want to eat more. So you actually need to avoid eating almost at the very beginning of your day.
Yeah.
And actually, there's 2 points in your day that you're going to have like those pangs in your stomach, but it goes away. It's like an hour block. every day, like it's like 12 and like 2 or some weird times, but that's it.
Well, and
You
and
let
you
them
can
fade,
program
and
it.
you're good.
And you can program it.
after.
I mean, there's obviously that woman was getting enough food, like she had enough stuff inside of her body for everything to work, but she ate so much, and pretty much it sounded like a full-time job, just stuffing her own face. That there's a component of habit there. I would say diet is probably 99% habit.
Yeah.
Because of your body
And that's-
releases hormones to say, oh, it's time
And that's
to eat.
what makes you big. I mean, it's down to diet. That's another thing. They try to get you to, they try to sell you on the exercise. But if you're really overweight, like that gal or a lot of people,
Exercise can be dangerous.
exercise is dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
because just having that excess weight is doing damage to your joints. It's that extra fat around your organs that make you more likely to die from something.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And then, of course, anything you say in the space of diet is probably going to piss off some people and give other people an excuse. Because when we say exercise is dangerous, it's dangerous if you're 600 pounds, 300 pounds. And
Well, and what kind of exercise? If
And
you,
what kind of exercise?
If you're really overweight and you have to use a scooter, just managing to do a few steps every day.
Right.
I mean, that's probably not bad. Like a little bit of like physical
Yeah, a
therapy
little bit
type
of
of thing.
walking.
Some stretching, the really easy stuff. Don't
Right.
go try jogging down the block thinking you're gonna
No.
fix anything. You're just gonna hurt yourself.
Or lifting weights either. That's-
And you have all that extra weight pushing on your lungs. It makes it really hard
Yeah.
to do cardio work, and just concentrate on not eating as much. Wait till 2. If you're mentally overweight, don't eat till 2 p.m.
But if you look like me,
You're probably fine.
I'm technically overweight by the body mass index. I think I'm even borderline obese by the body mass index. I don't look it per se. I'm 6'3" and I weigh about 225 to 230 pounds, depending on how much water I'm retaining at any given time. And the ideal healthy weight, according to the body mass index, is under 200. And I don't think that's realistic for me. I've been there before, but I pretty much had to starve myself constantly to stay there. But somewhere in the 210 range is probably it's a nice easy weight for me to maintain. But what happened was I started doing a play that required a lot from me and got me out of the house, and then I got in the habit of stopping at fast food on the way home. And I've worked to break the habit since the show ended. It's not like something that's stuck with me forever. It's just, the weight stuck with me, and it takes time for it to come off when you change your habits. And there was a point that I was trying to get to somewhere in there, but I forgot what it was, and even the rambling didn't help me find it.
Oh, man. You're rambling and reaching.
But as excuses, the whole exercise thing. I think it's very important to understand what each thing that you can do should be done to accomplish. So when you exercise, what's your goal? Is your goal to be healthy? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose a lot of weight from it. Is your goal to have, strength, and so maybe you have a job where you got to lift stuff and you want to improve your muscle strength so you can pick things up more easily and you're less likely to hurt yourself. That's a good reason to exercise. Are you preparing for a triathlon or a marathon or something like that? Good reason to exercise. Is there something you want to be able physically to do? That's a good reason to exercise. Losing weight is not a good reason to exercise. It just isn't.
It can aid in losing weight. Like exercise can aid in losing weight, but don't.
Right.
Yeah, don't look at it.
But
that
don't
way.
exercise to lose weight.
Because if you haven't sorted out your diet, you're just going to end up being hungry after you work out, and you're not going to make the correct choices
Right.
to actually lose weight. I mean, it is down to diet.
Right.
And-
But you might get healthy. So that's why I say it's important to understand what your goal is for the thing that you're doing. So we're not saying it's bad to exercise if you want to lose weight. Don't exercise to lose weight. Exercise to be healthy or to be physically capable of doing something that you want to do. People can be overweight naturally, but there is a point that I think it's got to be psychological. And I'm not saying like they're lazy or whatever. Like there's a genuine like mental health disorder behind them getting as heavy as they are.
I don't want to say this is a blanket case. Let me make that clear.
Right.
But a lot of times, I've seen in some of these shows where they help them lose the weight, there was some type of sexual abuse or something that happened,
Oh, really?
and then it triggers into something like this.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that makes sense.
right. Yeah, some kind of mental
Some kind of
health.
trauma.
Yeah. And then, like I was talking about with the tools, lacking the tools, maybe your overweightness is just, your weight is a symptom of some other problem that you didn't have the tools to deal with. Like, if you were sexually abused and you never sought counseling and you just never developed the mental coping mechanisms, and no one should ever have to. It's a real shame that this phenomenon exists at all. But if you can dream it up, someone's done it to someone else.
Mhm.
So anyway.